What's up, party people and magic makers? Destiny here. First off, Haole Makahiki Ho. We are in a new year, let alone a new decade. So happy 2020. This month, I will be talking about the silly things that we do, right? Do you guys remember the Trix rabbit? I'm pretty sure he's still on the box. I haven't looked down the cereal aisle for quite some time. However, he would spend like the entire commercial, whether it was 30 seconds or a minute, trying to get Trix cereal from the kids. And the kids would always tell him, silly rabbit, tricks are for kids, right? That was sort of their tagline, their motto there. Well, it's interesting because that first part of silly rabbit, tricks are for kids, is what I hear in my head when I see some of the silly things that we do. Except it sounds more like silly human stories are for kids. And it plays just over and over when I see something going on. And so I thought, what would be really fun is to share all of the silly things that we do because of what we learned in the stories we told ourselves when we were like in elementary school, maybe even younger sometimes, preschool and elementary school. Because that's the moments in time where, I've said this in past videos, like our brain is in a theta state for brain waves between the ages of 0 and 7. And everything that we're learning, we're just sucking in without being able to filter anything out. So basically everything that we're learning is just all going in, and we don't know what that is or what that isn't. And so a lot of the decisions that we make decades later is based on all of the stories that we learned when we were kids. But then here's the silly part. We keep reliving the same story over and over. And it's a story that happened so long ago in our past and has absolutely nothing to do with where we want to go in our future. And so some of these things are like, look at picking the person that you're spending your life with. Is this the person that you want to spend your life with, or just the one that you think you should? Because there's a difference, right? There's a big difference. But are you reliving a pattern or a story that came in from the time you were a kid, thinking that that's what you deserve because that's what you saw all of the adults do around you, right? The job that you're in, is it the job that really lights your soul on fire, that really just gets you going and gets you like motivated to be up in the day and like take it on and just have a lot of fun? Or is it the job that you were told that you needed to take because somebody told you to go to college and you didn't even really want to go to college, and now you're telling yourself, well, since I went and I have this degree, I've got to use it because I spent all that money. Shoot, some people may still be like paying for their college, right? And because they're paying it, they're like, I gotta make use of it somehow. But then they're in a dead-end job and they don't really like it and they're not having fun with it, right? These are all stories and things that we learned as kids, that like these are the things that you have to do because of the outside influences of other people that at some stage in the game squashed who we really were inside, right? Like my parents kept telling me I had to go to college, and I went to college and I was like, I don't know what the hell I want to do. When I had to pick a major, I was like, I don't know. The college actually forced me to pick a major because I had to. And I mean, granted, I do have a BA in English, and like that's helpful when writing emails and stuff, but it's not like normally when you hear somebody's got an English degree, they either became like a teacher or a banker or something like that. Thank God that that's not really the case anymore. However, I went that route because that's what I was told I needed to do. Learning about like the trade schools and stuff blew my mind because I was like, oh, right, that's still out there. And that I think would have been a better fit for me, right? But now where I am, I'm like, well, you know what? I've got this skill. I know how to do it. Like, let's move forward and utilize what I have instead of keeping on creating the same thing and being in the same jobs over and over that don't fulfill me. Like, what does fulfill me? And let me go and do that, right? Because then that, I'm like, woohoo, like that's fun. That's fun to do. But I had to break that pattern and stop that story of this is what you have to do because, right? So look at that for yourself. Do you have a reason or an excuse as to why you're doing what you're doing? Because if you do, that's not your soul. That's not your inner calling. It's not what happens. One of the coaches that I follow, Corey Michelle, she's like, your awareness doesn't have a reason or an excuse. It just is. It's a yes or a no. And that's so true, right? So check in with yourself. Are you being a silly human and listening to the stories that you learned way, way back then? Or are you making decisions based on your awareness and the way you feel and how, like, your soul is on fire and ready to rock, right? Like, that's the kind of excitement and joy that you want all the time. And yes, it is possible to have that all the time. And yes, it is possible to be high vibe. And yes, it's absolutely possible to be sad and still be high vibe, right? Like, people are just like, oh no, that doesn't happen. Well, that's another story. And they learned that like a long time ago or from an experience that they had. What if we could just release all of these stories so that they're not stories anymore? They're just this thing that happened, and now you can move on and you can look forward towards your future. Because if you're looking at your future and you're going that way, then none of that stuff behind you really matters a whole hell of a lot, because you'll be making decisions based on what you're feeling and how good you're feeling or not, right? If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Then that means you're out of integrity with yourself. If it feels great, move forward, keep going, right? So like, look at all of the things that are kind of silly that we're doing because we learned something when we were like 5 and we're still doing it decades later. And if you're having a difficult time untangling that, comment. Let me know. Like, I will happily walk you through this so that you can learn how to do it for yourself, because that's where it really is. It's in the awareness of stuff and how to move forward, right? If you watch these videos and they happen to be like later on in your day, or sometimes you're like, oh man, I missed it, I am going to put a link in the comment section to sign up for my mailing list. I will email you these videos every week. Then that way you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about, when you get it. It'll just land right in your email box, and watch it when you're ready. Because I think these videos are super helpful to show, especially this month, like, all of the things that we're beating ourselves up for when it's just a silly story. That's all it is. It's just a silly, silly story that we learned when we were kids, and we can unlearn it, right? And we can do something different. So until the next time, have a wonderful week. We are like, seriously, a week into 2020 almost. Like, what? That's craziness. That's amazing also. All right, so until next week, have a good one and peace.